Hi, this is Jerry Amernick. I'm the author of Babe Ruth, the Superstar's Legacy, now available on Amazon in both print and as an ebook, and also at the site baberuthlegacy.com. We're back with the Legacy interviews, and today we look at the business side of Ruth and the sports collectibles industry, a business that is now a billion-dollar affair. That's right, I said billion, and Babe Ruth is at the very top of it. My guest is David Kohler. Now, when he was a student at the University of California, he was planning on a medical career, but he got a little sidetracked. He was running a small sports shop, and it went so well, he forgot about medicine and decided to go into the sports memorabilia business full-time. In 1979, he founded SCP Auctions, and today it's one of the biggest auctioneers and private sellers of sports memorabilia and cards. In 2012, SCP put on an auction, and one of the items was a Babe Ruth-worn Yankees jersey from the 1920 or 21 season. It wound up fetching $4.4 million, which is still today a world record for an item of sports memorabilia. David, you once said to me, you said, Babe Ruth is king of the whole business of sports memorabilia. He's in so much demand I can make a living just out of Babe Ruth items. Well, welcome to the Babe Ruth Legacy series.
Well, thank you so much, and I really look forward to reading your book. And yes, Babe Ruth is king of the sports memorabilia business. He really is. If you had to pick one player, and not just baseball, everybody loves him. He obviously saved the game of baseball, and today people pay a lot of money for anything associated with Babe Ruth, whether it's a game-worn jersey, an autographed baseball, his original bubblegum baseball card,
yep,
things like that.
Right. David, tell us a little bit about SCP Auctions. What exactly is it, and what do you do?
SCP Auctions, we're one of the foremost sports memorabilia auctioneers and private sellers of sports memorabilia, whether it's in the baseball field. We do a lot of basketball, football, some hockey, and boxing, and actually we do quite a bit in the Olympic field also. So we do auctions worldwide on the internet,
yeah,
and then and then deal with a lot of private collectors that we broker or sell memorabilia directly to them in between our auctions.
Yeah. Now, this is not for the faint of heart. You've been affiliated with the Sotheby's as well, haven't you?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We were a separate company, but we did co-brand with Sotheby's and do the traditional live sales with them back in 2004 through 2008 in their building in New York City. And we did 2 sales a year, and I had a lot of fun with that also.
Okay, so exactly how big is the industry today, and why has it grown the way that it has in recent years? Why is that?
My opinion is, well, first of all, yeah, it is a huge industry now. It's gotten bigger and bigger. It's definitely a billion-dollar industry or more. There's 2 factors here. There's actually a few factors. One of them is the maturity. The industry has grown as the internet and access for people where they can see what's available, who to deal with worldwide. Obviously,
yeah,
most of our sales is in the U.S.,
yeah,
but there's a lot of international buyers too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's led to the growth of the sports memorabilia industry. And the other thing that's helped is obviously the authentication process.
Yes.
Where there's companies that are authenticating the game-worn jersey or the cards and encapsulating them, authenticating the autographs and things like that. So there's a lot of confidence for the collector and the buyer in the market.
Right.
That's why we invented. And then the last thing is we're selling sports.
Yeah.
And it's not a fad. People love sports, and when people decide to start collecting in whatever category or sport or team or player that they love, they have a lot of fun doing it, and they realize, well, this is how you go about it. And again, we're selling sports on a daily basis, and,
yeah,
and we know the sports world has grown tremendously.
So who are the kind of people that get involved in these auctions for these high-price items?
All different walks of life. Business people, doctors, lawyers, all different, all across the whole span. Financial people,
yeah,
Wall Street people,
yeah,
just regular, could be just regular business owners that, or somebody that just, collected a lot of cards when they were young. And back to market.
Now, when did you first discover that Babe Ruth items were special?
Well, obviously from the start.
Yeah.
Pretty much the start of me doing this in high school. If you could ever find an old baseball card of Babe Ruth, you knew that was something you could always sell, or if we find a signed ball or something like that.
Yeah.
It's Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
You say Babe Ruth to somebody in Fiji, and they know who Babe Ruth is.
Well, I had this conversation with Tom Stevens, Babe Ruth's grandson, who wrote the foreword to my book, and he's an engineer, and he's worked all over the world, and he's told me stories about Thailand, Australia, South Africa, Afghanistan, and Babe Ruth is known everywhere.
Without question.
Yeah. Now, your 2012 auction that sold the Yankees jersey for $4.4 million, which was a world record and is still a world record today. Can you walk us through that auction and just try to capture the moment? How did it take place, and how long did it last? And I guess it was kind of frenetic towards the end.
Yes, it was. We knew we had a special piece. We had it at an auction in 2012, I think May of 2012.
Yeah.
We had some other great Babe Ruth artifacts around the jersey. We had a game-used hat.
Yeah.
And we had a game-used bat and some other great artifacts within the whole complete sale of about 1,000 items.
Yeah.
But the Babe Ruth jersey was the star of the sale. And it was authenticated and graded an 8, and everybody knew this was the earliest and probably the best known Babe Ruth jersey to ever come on the market.
Right. And a grading of 8 means it's not perfect, but it's in pretty good shape.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Original letters and number and so on. So,
right. If I may, I'd like to read something from SCP Auctions. It was, I guess, a release, or it was on your website when this jersey was taking place. And you called the jersey a national heirloom and presented it, quote, not merely as a piece of sports memorabilia, but as one of the most singularly important discoveries in the realm of Americana. I'm reading the words from SCP Auctions. It said, Babe Ruth was a man of mythic proportions. More than any other athlete, he transcended sports, achieving a nearly unrivaled status as an American icon. Like the man himself, this jersey is a treasure for the ages. So it goes beyond sport and baseball, doesn't it?
Without question. This is the type of piece that, should be in the Smithsonian for all to view in a museum or institution such as that.
Well, the Smithsonian is in my book. First chapter is about the Babe Ruth exhibit at the One Life series, which was at the Smithsonian. It wound up in June 2017, and I spoke to the curator who put that together. So he is in the Smithsonian, but maybe not the jersey.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Babe Ruth should be a part of that. He is a part of Americana. And, we were very excited about having this. We estimated at the time that, conservatively, we estimated that this could sell for a couple $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it sold for over double that, $4.4 million, which is, as you stated, a world record as we sit today for the sports memorabilia world.
Yeah.
And, that's more than double what it costs to build Yankee Stadium.
That's right. No, that's an amazing. Go back to 1923. That's I know it's just incredible when you think about it. Now, Mike Hefner of Leland's, he's actually the guy who bought the jersey. He was an agent acting for the buyer, and I spoke to him about it, and he told me how the sale works, and it goes on. It can go on for 3 or 4 weeks, at least the auction.
That's correct. I think we took bids for about 3 weeks, and. Then obviously as it goes into the last day, the whole auction, there's a lot more activity.
Yeah.
And of course, the jersey kind of
right.
had its own. That was pretty remarkable.
So he actually bought the jersey for his client, whom he was representing, and this was back in 2012. And at the time, he said, in 5 years, that jersey is probably going to be worth $10 million. Well. A few months ago, I called him up and said, Mike, remember we were talking about the jersey? Yes. I said, well, 5 years have gone by. How much do you think the jersey's worth? And he said, well, you never know until it goes for sale, but his estimate is that it would fetch upwards of $10 million today.
It very well could be. It's an incredible piece, and based on what other important documents, not documents, important sports memorabilia that sold for, heavy six figures or even over $1 million, seven figures. Some of those pieces that have traded 5 and 10 and 15 years later have sold for a multiple of what they sold it.
So it's a good investment. Now, David, I got to tell you, one of my favorite quotes I've got in the book came from you. And when we have a chapter about the sports memorabilia collectibles industry, we also have a whole chapter on the jersey and the auction. And we mentioned that when the auction was over and the jersey was taken out of its vault at your building in Laguna Niguel, California, and it had to be shipped across the country, and when you do that, you turn to trained and armed guards. And the jersey was actually personally delivered by a former Secret Service agent. And you said, this is what you told me, you told the fellow, you said, you be careful with that. You told the man when he took possession of the jersey. And the guy's response was, well, I protected presidents. And you said, and this is a classic, presidents can be replaced. This jersey can't. I love it.
Yes, that's accurate. I did state that. And actually, the former Secret Service person is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we hired him. He's done some other deliveries for us over the years.
Yeah.
And his firm does security for us and so on. So he delivered it for us, and I did state that to him, probably because I knew him on a personal level.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a wonderful comment.
Yes, it was, and he did predict many presidents. But anyway, he delivered the jersey for us to the East Coast and handed it off.
Now, in my book, I've got a list of, I think, 9 of the top items that SCP has been involved with, and maybe it's even out of date now, but there were 9 items. The jersey, of course, is at the top. And this is for, any sport. And of the 9 items, 5 of them were Babe Ruth items. We have his signed bat from the first home run at Yankee Stadium, $1.3 million. The contract that sold Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees, $996,000. A gold pocket watch presented to Ruth by the Yankees during his last visit to the Yankee Stadium, $650,000. And a Yankee cap worn by Ruth from the 1930s, which went for over $530,000. And then another list I came across was the top 15 items of sports memorabilia, not necessarily sold by you guys, but sold by anyone, the top 15. And 7 of those top 15 items are Babe Ruth items. It's just incredible.
Yes, it is. Like we stated from the beginning of this conversation, Babe Ruth is the king of the sports memorabilia world. And it's a proven fact based on all the sales figures you just stated. And, if we found another Babe Ruth jersey that was authenticated and, depending on the condition, tomorrow, or one of his historic bats, or one of his mint baseball cards from the 30s, they're gonna sell for a lot of money, whether it's today or 5 years from now.
Yeah. Well, the cover photo we have on my book, it's a photo I first saw a few months ago. I don't know if it was sold at one of your auctions or not, but it was a single signed, framed photograph of Ruth from 1920, his first year with the Yankees. And it was purchased in an auction, I believe, in 2004, and it was purchased for $150,000, a photograph of Ruth. And,
I'm very aware of that piece. It's one of my favorite pieces. We did auction that.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah.
And the client still has it. I love the image.
Yeah, it's a wonderful photo.
Very large image, very large autograph.
Yeah.
Display piece.
So, David, why do Babe Ruth items command so much money, and obviously so much more than anyone else, not only in baseball, from any other sport? Why?
I think it's just, like we said, he's a part of Americana. He's world famous. He's been deceased for, close to 75 years
70
now.
years, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is, to the game of baseball. A lot of books have been written and stated he saved the game of baseball after the problems they had. And here came Babe Ruth and got traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees and changed the game with his home runs.
Yes.
They built a stadium basically for him, that they called the house that Ruth built.
Yeah.
It's pretty front row center there as far as how important he was to the game, and certainly it's reflected in any artifacts of Babe Ruth in our market today when they are sold or auctioned off.
Yeah. Now, I looked at that jersey, and of course, as you said at the outset, the jersey sold for, well, in today's dollars, but twice what it cost to build the original Yankee Stadium, which is just mind-blowing when you think about that. So what about the Ruth legacy? I know you're in the business side of Babe Ruth. In my book, we explore the business side, but lots of other things too. What is it about Ruth that makes his iconic status endure through the ages? And from my view, it seems to even be rising all the time. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, like you said, he was so good for the game. He was really great with, obviously, the kids of the world back then, always giving autographs, and willing to be doing a lot of endorsements back then for a lot of different companies. So, he was promoting the game of baseball always. And it's just people, then all the history of him hitting these home runs and then being on the right team, right? He was on the New York team.
Yes, at the right time.
At the right time. And, Lou Gehrig was there as his sidekick. And
pretty good sidekick.
Yeah, exactly. And they won so many championships. So you had the Yankees, New York City. As you know, New York is the media capital of the world. It still is.
Yeah.
And all of those factors went into this, into Babe. And he obviously was very much of a character off the field also. And so he's just beloved. And people today recognize that. Mm-hmm. And they always will. They always will. And that's, again, it goes right to the why people want to have his sports memorabilia.
Yeah. Well, Joe Orlando, who's a pretty well-known name in the business, he told me there are really two categories in the collector's business. He said there's Babe Ruth and there's everyone else.
I love it. Yeah, that's a strong statement.
Yeah. So you once said to me that Ruth is unquestionably the litmus test for an item. That means if a Ruth bat is worth so much money, then a bat signed by, say, Gehrig or another player would be based on what the Ruth bat sold for. And then you said that you likened it to saying that he's like the top of the Dow Jones Index.
Yes, I guess I would agree with that. He's the top echelon of, if you had to say one player.
Yeah.
In all sports.
Right.
You had to say what's the most desirable, most famous, and we went across the board. You could say Michael Jordan. You could say Mickey Mantle. You could say Joe DiMaggio. You could say a lot of different players in different sports.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But someone may even say Muhammad Ali. Mm-hmm. In the boxing world, and certainly those are all huge names and very famous and iconic people, and they always will be. But I think if you took a vote with 10 million people across section, not even the United States, probably the world.
Yes.
Based on just a sports player.
Yes.
It's going to be Babe Ruth.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So do you have any current Babe Ruth items that are for sale or coming up in future auctions? Anything of note?
We do have a current auction, actually, right now that's ending this weekend. But we have some signed Babe Ruth baseballs. We have one that's really nice with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig from 1927 when they were barnstorming, and it was actually, they were playing up in California.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A couple of days. And a family, a kid, was able to get on the field and was, had them both sign it from when they were visiting there. And we have some high-end cards, 1933 Gowdy. We have a PSA 8 that's probably going to bring, 40,000, 50,000 in the auction and artifacts like that.
So have you ever regretted your decision not to pursue a medical career and go into this business?
No. It's a pretty straight answer there.
Yeah. Okay, well, David Kohler, SCP Auctions, I want to thank you for being with us in the Babe Ruth Legacy series, and let me know if there's any more items involving Babe Ruth that are coming up. I'd like to be kept abreast of what's going on that, and I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Can't wait to read your book. You've done some extreme effort on this and research, and it's going to be very great to read, to see all this, because Babe Ruth is the king, the Sultan of SWAT, as they say, and he always will be.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.